What's good, YouTube? Dom Staven Sports Cards here, back with another video. Just want to apologize in advance for the less than ideal lighting. This was my second day at the National, my last full day. Yesterday, I was kind of in awe and just scoping the place out, picked up some nice cards. But today, I decided to make some plays, and where else would I start than with my good friend Brian, B. Ross 6, who was setting up at his first National. Was really happy to support him and meet him in person. He had some goodies waiting for me. 1951 Bowman Billy Pierce. He's a guy that's not in the Hall of Fame, but he's been on multiple era committee ballots, so it's probably safe to just have his rookie card in the collection in the off chance that it's a Billy Pierce year for the committee. That's a really nice card there. 1980 Burger King, Tom Seaver. I thought that was really neat. I'm a sucker for Carl Yastrzemski's. This 1980 Topps is really sharp. Happy to add it to the collection. 1969 5th Series checklist of Mickey Mantle. Really affordable way to get a vintage Mantle is through the checklist cards that he's in from 67 through 69. And this one is unchecked and has really sharp corners, so even better. Another affordable way to get Hall of Famers is these league leader cards. Sometimes you'll get a full house of Hall of Famers. In this one, just Harmon Killebrew standing atop 1964 American League home run leaders. Speaking of full houses, 1971 National League RBI leaders with Bench, Perez, and Williams. Really cool card there. 1972 NL RBI leaders with Joe Torre, who's a Hall of Fame manager, Willie Stargell, and the great Henry Aaron. Speaking of Hank Aaron, these 1961 NU baseball scoops I think are such a great entry point for people that want to get into vintage or just getting into vintage. They teach you about the history of the game. This talks about Hank Aaron willing the Braves to a World Series championship in October of 1957, beating the New York Yankees. Cards like this are so affordable. There's a lot of them out there, and they're educational as much as they are cool. So really like them in the newspaper design. 1964 Topps Richie Dick Allen. Cannot get enough of these cards. He should be in the Hall of Fame, and until he's priced like that, I'm going to continue to pick them up in the right price. Speaking of the right price, this 1965 Topps Steve Carlton was ridiculously affordable because some kid decided to tape a Dave Ricketts in the middle there between Fritz and Steve. It's a funny card. I love the history behind the cards. I don't mind a lot of the times on blank back cards when people write on them or glued them into an album, taped them to their wall. It showed that a kid cherished this card or loved it, thought this was funny, and it's just part of the story behind the card. So things like this are really cool to see, and if you can get them for a cheap price, it just makes a lot of sense. So I have a good Carlton rookie already, and now I have the Dave Ricketts exclusive. Maybe a one of one. Then I decided to pick up some things while I was at B. Ross' booth. He had a bunch of exhibits and different things in his case, and I added my first Hank Greenberg to the collection. Wanted to add one for a while. I figured if I'm gonna add one, it's gonna be from Brian at some point when he gets an affordable one that he has a better copy of. This one's creased, but having a salutation of Hank Greenberg Cannot go wrong in the collection. One of the best first basemen of all time. I also got this Bob Feller, who's just an unbelievable pitcher, was way ahead of his time. Really cool pieces here. Added a 1960 Fleer, Walter Johnson, the big train. It's got a really nice front on this card. Another Scoops, Playing Days, Willie Mays. 3 triples, paces the Giants to victory. And stuff like that's just so cool. I mean, how often do you even see a triple in a game, let alone a player to hit 3? So learning about how great Willie Mays is and all these other great players of the game, these historical moments or games and performances that kind of get pushed under the rug compared to their greatest achievements, these cards are just great. Speaking of great card, this is a Bell brand card, which I didn't really know existed. Brian had a few of these, and this Willie Davis of him bunting just caught my eye. It's a really cool image. You don't see bunting cards very often, even in the vintage world, and was really happy to add this. Maybe I'll add a Hall of Fame Dodger at some point from this set, but happy with Willie for now. Speaking of Hall of Fame Dodgers, post cereal, these cards are so tough because they're hand cut and they are off the bottom of cereal boxes. So as long as the edges and corners aren't all jacked up, we're really happy to add any Hall of Famer at an affordable price. Another stone in the Infinity Gauntlet. Brian gave me a great deal on this Reggie Jackson rookie, 1969 Topps. I saw it in his case, had the centering and eye appeal I was looking for. This card has snow a lot of the time on like the face and top of the card, and this card is pretty clean. So I'm super stoked to add this Mr. October rookie to my PC. I think as the aura and history of Mr. October and his World Series heroics, the afro, the Reggie bar, as that grows older with Reggie, this card will just continue to appreciate. So super stoked to add it, Brian. Thank you so much. Went a little off the beaten path and went back to the Yastrzemski dealer, Jim, who has the #1 master set on PSA for Carl Yastrzemski. So he had a lot of great stuff that was all his doubles, where he had the same grade or higher in his PC. And I learned about this. So I'm going to bring it closer. This is from the 60s, but it's a Coke bottle cap of Carl Yastrzemski. Look at how worn that is. Now, with like a water bottle, you screw the top back on. But with these soda bottles, you're popping the top off, and who knows what happens to the cap. So to get one of these is really cool. He was telling me that there's King Coke and Fanta and some rarer backs, but just to own one, and I'd honestly rather just have the basic Coke anyway. My favorite vintage player, you cannot go wrong. It was super awesome talking to him and his friend, and had a lot of great stuff. Different dealer had a 1971 Milk Duds of Roberto Clemente on top, listed at $100, which isn't unreasonable. It was pretty sharp. But he had some underneath, and I asked to look, and I found a couple Hall of Famers that were priced a lot more in my tax bracket. So I got this awesome Willie McCovey for this being a hand-cut card off a little Milk Duds box. The edges are really clean. It's got a surface puncture here, but it's not on the face. And I got a Tony Perez, which is the same story. Really nice edges, surface puncture up here, but it's off the face. And you just don't see these at every card show that you go to. So being able to add a couple great Hall of Fame first basemen out of this set to my PC was just a no-brainer. This card I was not expecting to pick up at the National, but when you find something for a good price, you can't put it down. And this 1948 Bob Feller rookie has staining on the top, but it is pretty dead center. The image is clear as day, and it's just a great example of the card. I picked up his Dixie lid in my last video from 38, which predates this by a whole decade, but this is considered his rookie card, and I'm really happy to own it. This is a great set with a ton of Hall of Fame rookies in it, and Feller is definitely one that I was not expecting to pick up at the show. Speaking of not expecting to pick up, 1912 Silk of Larry Doyle from the New York Giants. So I wasn't very familiar with these. The dealer had a ton of old judges and different issues that I was loosely familiar with or had never seen. And he was telling me about these silks that were modeled after the T205s. Really cool imaging on them. They're made out of fabric. And he had a few of them. This Larry Doyle was one of the lower priced ones, which was surprising to me because even though I don't know too much about pre-war, Larry Doyle was a very good player, an MVP for the Giants, who were the dominant team back then. And I was able to work out a deal with him and get a really nice card in a set that I didn't have any cards from. So super stoked to add it. Definitely part of the miscellaneous section, even though it's not Hall of Fame. It's still really cool. If you guys know anything about the different colors and rarity, let me know. He was saying that he thinks the pink is tougher. I don't have any idea, but I'm super happy to add this piece to the collection. On to some slabs. These three were in a bin that was just put out, and this is a tip for any card show that goes multiple days. Show up early and see if there's any new boxes or inventory out that hasn't been priced yet or sorted correctly. Because he had this box of slabs that said $20 each. And I said, okay, let me see what's in here. Don't collect basketball, but I loved watching Dirk Nowitzki. This is his 1998 Topps rookie card in a PSA 8. I don't know what this sells for, but I'm assuming you can't get an 8 for much less than 20 bucks. I also got this card, which I was loosely looking for because I think he's going to get into the Hall of Fame in a couple years. 1995 Bowman's Best Scott Rowland in a PSA 8. This card in a 9 is over $100 now normally. So to get an 8, and the card's pretty clean for 20 bucks was a no-brainer. But this was the one that he was upset was in the $20 box. 2001 Topps Ichiro Suzuki rookie in a PSA 7. Now, it's a 7 for a 2001 Topps card. It's not great. But this card sells for double to triple that value. And it goes perfectly with my Albert Pujols Topps from 2001 that is also a PSA 7. So the goal now, I guess, is to get the combo card of the two of them in a PSA 7. Future Hall of Famer, 3,000 hits. If you count his Japanese hits, he is the all-time hit king. Awesome player that I really enjoyed watching growing up. GotBaseballCards.com out of Atlanta. They were a really nice couple and really awesome to work with. They had stuff from tobacco cards all the way to present. I got this really nice 1955 Bowman Phil Rizzuto from them in an SGC 3.5. The 55 Bowman set is my favorite Bowman set, and it might be my favorite set from the 50s. I really love the TV design. There's something about the image choices that they made and the color TV look, it just screams vintage baseball, gathering around your television to watch the number one sport in the country at the time. So, super happy to add this scooter. Another one on the Infinity Gauntlet, the 1973 Topps John Hilton rookie. No, the Michael Jack Schmidt rookie. In my opinion, he's probably the best third baseman of all time. No, he didn't hit for a crazy average, but over 500 home runs and 10 gold gloves, multiple MVPs, a World Series. Like, he was unbelievable, and he doesn't get a lot of hobby love. I think that's going to change as he continues to age and people just look at the stats that haven't changed in a long time. You also got the Penguin Ron Say there on the end. It's just a great card. And I was looking for a centered example. The edges on this aren't perfect, but the centering is solid and the imaging is very nice. So super stoked to add this to the collection in a 2.5. I looked at hundreds of these, and I actually stumbled into this by someone that was trying to sell a different card to Brian while I was at his table. So really awesome. You never know when you're going to find the card. And speaking of the card, I looked at a lot of this card at the show, and I don't know how much is coming up on the camera, but this 1955 Topps Harmon Killebrew stuck out to me. There is creasing on the bottom left side, but the color just pops so much on this card. There was a lot of faded ones that I saw at the show, even in slightly higher grades. And his face is the clear as day. The registration on this card is awesome. Love the Washington Senators logo with the little Capitol building behind it. This is another card I think has just been so undervalued. The 55 Topps set is super iconic with the colors, the Clemente rookie, the Koufax rookie, all the Hall of Famers. And Harmon Killebrew kind of just gets slept on. I think his rookie and Ken Boyer's rookie will appreciate in value by a good margin. So getting into his rookie card for $100 bill, I think, is a no-brainer, especially one with this good of eye appeal. Super stoked to add it to the collection. And I came in thinking I was going to knock off 2 to 3 of the gems on my Infinity Gauntlet, and I ended up getting 4 with part of a day to go. I don't think I'm going to get the K-Liner bench tomorrow with how I spent, but you never know who's going to panic sell. The last couple pieces I got are pretty big, so we're going to see how this works on the camera. This is a 1936 of Wheaties of Billy Herman. The colors on this thing are beautiful. It's from the back of a Wheaties box. Billy Herman says, "I want a man-sized breakfast, and the dish I picked to do is the job of the famous Breakfast of Champions dish. Wheaties with plenty of milk or cream and some kind of fruit. Lifetime 300 hitter, most putouts for a second baseman in 1936. Really cool card here. He had a bunch of them at his station. I was just looking for one that I liked the colors and the image the most, and the Cubs colors with the red and blue and the yellow star, it just screams vintage and Americana to me, and I knew I just had to have this one. And the last one is a 1950s Dixie Premium of Bob Lemon. This is a really cool thing that I had never seen before. Apparently they had the Dixie lids, and there was some sort of thing through the distributors and places where they were carrying the Dixie products where you could send out for these images, and the guy had a few of them. The only Hall of Famer was Bob Lemon. and it was really cool. Ran into John Mangini at the show, and he had actually said he didn't know about the Dixie Premiums. So someone that I respect so much in this hobby and have learned a lot from, I was able to show him a issue that he had not seen and something in my collection. And that was a really cool moment from the show. Meeting with all the guys at the Claridge on that beautiful rooftop bar that they had. Getting drinks, sharing pickups and stories. It's just been an absolute blast. I knew that I would not regret it as soon as I booked my trip, and it has been everything that I hoped for from this experience. I want to thank every single YouTuber that I've met throughout the weekend. You've all been so welcoming and nice, supportive. It's been unbelievable. Getting to share this hobby with all of you has been awesome. And honestly, just really blows me away. I needed this, and I'm really glad that everything has worked out the way that it did. I appreciate you guys as always. Let me know what your favorite pickup from the show was. I will be giving a national recap tomorrow after I get home, so it probably won't be up until Sunday. Just going over the couple pickups that I make tomorrow and just my overall thoughts from this experience. Have a great weekend. Keep collecting.